Good evening, I am Nisha Charles.
And I am Deslin Joseph.
And we are your presenters for today. Thank you for joining us for SAT TV News. Among the major developments, Roseau Pal Rep hoping for football field from Dominica Grammar School land cleanup. Jamaica to enhance security at ports. Kosovo ex-Prime Minister Ramush Haradinaj cleared of war crimes.
And in sports, WICB CEO pledges continued support for Windies women's players.
Details of these and other stories after the break. Thank you for staying with us. Now for the details of the news. Leptospirosis is on the rise in Dominica. It is a serious preventable bacterial disease most often transmitted to humans by exposure to infected rat urine. Over the last few years, the number of cases has increased, and presently there are 5 confirmed cases of leptospirosis in Dominica. Symptoms of the human version includes an onset of fever, chills, eye redness and headache, muscle soreness that resolves spontaneously or after treatment with antibiotics. Up to 10% of infected persons may develop a serious systematic form of the illness, Wales disease, which can result in high fever, jaundice, septic meningitis, acute kidney failure, internal bleeding, and occasionally death. Although a variety of mammals worldwide harbor the infection, in Dominica the most common carriers are rats, dogs, and livestock. Humans do not transmit the infection to others. Those at highest risk for leptospirosis are those in certain occupations such as farmers, veterinarians, sanitation and sewer workers, and those involved in food preparation who may be exposed to rat contamination surroundings, including campers and freshwater swimmers. The public is advised to take some of these measures. Avoid contact with surfaces and water sources that may be contaminated with rat urine. Keep your home and its surroundings clean and free of garbage. Avoid leaving food where rats or rodents could get to it. Deny access to rats by erecting rodent-proof fences and screens, and ensure possible household entry places are blocked off. Farmers should ensure that animal feed are stored in rat-proof containers. The ministry continues to maintain their vigilance in ensuring that they prevent the increase of leptospirosis on the island.
And in more local news, previously the parliamentary representative for Roseau Central, Mr. Norris Prevost, stated that waste and garbage were being dumped behind the Windsor Park Stadium. Mr. Prevost says he has been asking for the portion of land to be used as a recreation facility for the young people of Roseau.
I am hoping that this excavation works that is going on here is government's final response to building a recreation facility for the young people of Roseau area and the grammar school. I mean, it's like a dream coming true, and I want to thank God for giving me the courage to fight so hard and so long for this facility here to be developed. I can say to you that on the other side of things, I am saddened by the fact that building this little playing field here has taken the government more than 7 years to do.
He says during that period, at least one full generation of young people in Roseau who had no recreation facility have either gone astray or have completely diverted from sports. The parliamentary representative added that in the area of football, the only 2 teams that sustain in Roseau are Celtics and Bathurst Ambassadors.
Roseau used to have like 6-7 football teams, but because of a lack of facilities, we no longer have that. We are going to build back. So I'm urging government, do not stop halfway on this project here. And I'm also asking them to grade the grammar school grounds. Let me say to you, I mean, it was really looking so disgraceful to see you have a big stadium right there, and at the back of the stadium is a whole pile of rubbish, waste material, and dirt from the excavation of the stadium.
Mr. Prevost informed SAT TV News that there is another portion of land between the stadium and Bath Road. He says that the longhouse needs to be relocated.
This is an old storeroom that the Chinese used since they were constructing the stadium. And surely that is the site for the hard courts, for the basketball, for the netball, for the ladies, for the tennis courts. If the hard courts are built there, it will not affect the stadium, because whenever there's an activity in the stadium, the vendors can still use out there. So let me say, I want to thank SAT for continuing. I'm asking SAT and the other media to continue to let us advocate for the recreation facilities for the people, for the young people of Roseau.
Mr. Prevost hopes that a facility for football will be built for the community of Roseau. And in more local news, the Food and Nutrition Council convened a consultation on a draft policy which took place on Wednesday, November 28, 2012. This took place as the Food and Nutrition Council, established by government some 32 years ago, is engaged in the final stages of reviewing our food and nutrition policy for Dominica. As we are aware, the eating habits of our population have been slightly eroded over the years and given way to more foreign tastes, leading to a disadvantage in the health status of Dominicans and decreasing of our farming community. Technical Officer in the Division of Agriculture and member of the Dominica Food and Nutrition Council, Mr. Winston McGlaw says, last year December there was a justification workshop where the document was reviewed while making adjustments.
When we started, there have been a few changes at the regional level. And for example, there was the development of the regional food and nutrition security policy and a plan of action. And we felt as council that we needed to make some adjustments to our document to reflect those changes and to make the document more consistent with what the region was doing as a whole. So this is what we have done to the document, and today's meeting is to look at the policy itself, to bring stakeholders together and to allow them the opportunity to review the policy based on what we discussed at the last meeting. And if there are any inclusions or things that they think are not necessary, then we will be making those adjustments. So the idea is really to get the participation from a wider grouping of other institutions, and both private sector and public sector, to make their own inputs into the policy.
The policy hinges on food disposal, access and safety in the context of the health education status of the population. Other important areas of focus in the policy include climate change and resilience and its impact on sustainable agriculture. It is necessary that every sector of the population should contribute to the efforts of the Council to address that many issues of food and nutrition which confront us, a developing nation. Mr. McGlaw says with every sector there is a policy, such as in agriculture and tourism, and so with food there should be no difference.
Food and nutrition spans a number of sectors. And as you will understand, there are a number of government ministries and private sector organizations that are involved in food and nutrition. Food and nutrition is at the core of our well-being and our everyday living and existence. So what it does is to bring all of these various components together. It brings the issues of health, the issues related to education, because education also influences your nutrition patterns and diets. It brings agriculture, because agriculture is fundamental in things like food availability.
He said one of the issues of agriculture in Dominica is that we have always tended to produce for the export market whilst not paying attention to the shortages of the local market. Mr. McGaw pointed out that the policy will also look at issues related to stability and issues related to disaster preparedness and mitigation to ensure stable food supply.
Among the issues it's going to be addressing are the micronutrient deficiencies that exist in our population, the poor dietary patterns and habits, the lifestyle habits. It's going to address issues related to agriculture, food production that are deficient. It's going to look at education. So it's a whole, like I said, it's cross-sectoral, it's multi-sectoral. It's not just limited to health. Because, for example, in the Ministry of Health, they would have identified a number of issues that are related to nutrition. You're well aware that things like obesity are nutrition-based problems. But it's not just nutrition. It's also going to address issues related to sports, lifestyle. So it's a whole range of issues that we're going to be addressing under the policy.
The policy is also important to complete a culturally suitable policy document which will facilitate the portion of the health status of the Dominican population. Once the policy is finalized, it will then be presented to the government of Dominica for ratification later this year.
Light and Power Holdings Limited of Barbados has said that it has signed a letter of intent to acquire controlling interests in Dominica Electric Services Limited (DOMLEC) from WRB Enterprises Inc. in Tampa, Florida. In a press release, the LPH said both companies are working to have a transaction completed before the end of 2012. DOMLEC is the sole electric utility for Dominica, serving 34,000 customers, and WRB owns 52% of DOMLEC, with 21% held by Dominica Social Security Scheme and the remainder by other investors. The LPH Managing Director Peter Williams says the acquisition of DOMLEC is consistent with their strategy to build a business of scale in the Caribbean. He added the LPH and the WRB are working together to implement a continuity plan to ensure change of control activities occur with customer service and employee alignment as a priority. SAT-TV News will continue following this story and will provide you with an update as soon as more information is made available.
And in more local news, the Office of Disaster Management will execute a simulation exercise to test the various components of the ministry's disaster plans. The exercise will simulate a disastrous earthquake impacting Commonwealth of Dominica, which will take place sometime next week. However, a brief meeting was held on Thursday, November 29th.
The Office of Disaster Management is engaged in a work program seeking to heighten awareness on disaster management, and with the support of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, they are implementing what is called the Comprehensive Disaster Management Principles. In the past, we generally prepared ourselves to respond to disasters.
Mr. Judge says the program is to assist government ministries in developing the disaster management plan as well as communities. He says the community of Capuchin has already had their training.
And they have had training, they have participated in a tabletop exercise, and they have also had their disaster plan almost 98% complete. It just needs editing and it will be handed over to them formally. They have also participated in a simulation exercise in the village of Clifton on the 20th of October. And that was very, very successful, actually.
Mr. Judge says the objective is to make communities across Dominica safe. For example, he brought up the flash flood incident which took place in Massa, Canefield and Mao, and he added that if the wall was built, many people would not have lost their homes. He also gave another example of a natural disaster.
That in 1999, really time, we had volcanic earthquakes occurred in the south of the island. We simulated the movement of those people. And when we were doing that, we started to get signs at Promenade. I think even when Montserrat was being affected, with their volcano, there was a plan to have an evacuation of constructions into Dominica.
SAT-TV News will provide you with more information on the simulation exercise.
And in more news, Reaching Elderly Abandoned Citizens Housebound REACH held its annual general meeting on Wednesday, November 28, 2012. REACH is a community-based organization that seeks to relieve some of the intense suffering of the aged in the community. They strive to meet both the spiritual and material needs of the elderly persons on a daily basis. At the meeting, they discussed the minutes of the AGM for November 16, 2011. Dr. Kay Polidor, president of REACH, says that presently young mothers are asking for help at REACH.
We're getting a new set of people nowadays. There's some very young persons trying to get help from REACH. The mothers who haven't got fathers to help them. Some of them are appearing at reach for help also. So it looks as though it's not only the elderly that we have to cater for, but some other persons are coming to get our services.
In spite of the Yes We Care program, Dr. Pondo says that REACH is looking after most elderly people in Dominica. With all the care that REACH is providing, they are having some needs of their own with regards to expansion.
We have been looking for a place, some piece of land where we could have everything under one roof, but so far it has not been possible. At some time we looked at a place in Canefield, but it wasn't large enough. So I don't know where we're going. Probably any place we might get might be too far out of town for the people whom we serve, so that is one of the problems that we're having.
Ms. Marvelyn Estrado gave the auditor's report for the year 2011. She reports that the accounts of REACH are well maintained and in good standing. She also stated that there was an increase in the surplus for the financial year ending December 2010.
It shows that the total assets of REACH moved from 490,012 to 622,635. And the increase in this is reflected there in the fixed assets. As some of you may know, there was some addition work done on an extension to the office, which came up to about 30-something thousand. So this caused really is the reason for the increase from 214,000 in year 2010 to 257 in year 2011.
REACH operates an administrative office on the grounds of the Dominica Infirmary. Their working facilities are located in the Fatima Center, including kitchen, laundry, small storeroom, and a garage for the bus. Dominican referees have been urged to take their task seriously and treat it as a profession. This word of advice came from President of the Dominica Football Association, Mr. Glenn Etienne, at a presentation ceremony of equipment kits by the DFA to referees on Wednesday, November 28th. He said although they are cognizant of how much an unenviable task refereeing is, they must do it to the best of their ability.
The beautiful game of football needs referees, and as such, referees must see themselves as an integral part of the game. The Dominica Football Association stands ready and willing to assist referees to perfect and perform their craft, hence the primary reason for us being here today. The kit that you will receive shortly is yet another clear manifestation of the interest and value that we place on all our referees. The referees are part of the football family, and we must take care of our own. Referees, you are part of the DFA.
Mr. Etienne urged the referees to make the best use of the equipment given to them by the DFA while using them wisely, and can also make it available to persons actively involved in refereeing. He said if best use is not being made of these kits, it means that the DFA would have wasted time and resources, whereas it could have been channeled elsewhere.
Referees, more than ever, the opportunities out there are endless. Football is a fast-growing sport, and as a result of that growth, there will be a need for more referees to take charge of the many games that are being played in Dominica, the region, and worldwide. Let me urge you to take refereeing very seriously, as it can be a lucrative career. There are many persons around the world who have had a success career in refereeing. You can do it too, because you are no different from them. However, in order to achieve that level of success, you must first be committed, and you must at all times display true professionalism, both on and off the field of play. By being committed, I mean that you have to work hard. You have to redouble your efforts. You have to remain steadfast. You must train, especially when you do not feel like training.
He advised the referees to do their training on their own, as it does not make sense to wait for special referee training, which simply is not enough. He said with that, they will position themselves to better understanding their sport and be more efficient while carrying out their duties, and they must create their own training schedule and get extra help if needed.
I must remind you that success is very sweet, and there is nothing wrong in being successful. More so at what you do. The referees department and the referees committee are fully functional, and they are at your disposal. Demand the help that you want from them, as I have every confidence that they will jump at the opportunity to be of service to you. Display professionalism all the time. Always remember that you are a referee when you are on the pitch and when you are in the supermarket as well. Always remember that people are looking at you. You are forever in the spotlight, especially if you are on the FIFA's list. By being professional, you must not criticize your colleagues, especially when strangers are around. Reserve your comments for the correct forum. Do not let people say referee X say it was not a penalty. Always defend your colleagues in public.
Mr. Etienne stated referees should always behave in a manner that their actions will attract people to become referees and not the other way around. The DFA president mentioned that over the years there has been demise in the number of individuals servicing the game, which is a major cause of concern. He said if this trend is to continue, it means there will not be adequate referees to service the various leagues and competitions played under the auspices of the Dominica Football Association.
I believe that now is the opportune time to embark on a massive recruitment drive, a drive that will identify and groom individuals to become referees and assistant referees. I am sure that there are many persons out there who would like to become referees and assistant referees. These persons need not to be identified and must be trained to their rightful position in refereeing in Dominica. We understand that this is a collaborative effort and we are certainly willing to play our part. One would appreciate that many of our present crop of referees and assistant referees are aging. Very soon, they will not be on the pitch. Who is willing to step up? Who is willing to raise a hand and carry the mantle? Who is ready to replace the likes of Kalai John Baptist, David Joseph, Daniel Leslie, Neron William, and others when they call it a day? These are serious questions, and the sooner we find the answer, the better.
Mr. Etienne added that the senior referees should use their time to pass on the knowledge and skills they have acquired to the young referees who will be replacing them when they call it quits. He said as referees need continuous training, the DFA will be staging a referee course in 2013 as it was not possible to be done this year. Mr. Etienne urges the referees to read a lot, to be aware of the rules of FIFA, as people will question their calls during games, but they must never be in a position where they are questioned of their knowledge of the rules and its interpretation. And in court, Tara Joseph of Vieques and Janella Moyes of Calabishi now have a large sum of money to pay to the court. This comes after the two women pled guilty to stealing $1,108.70 worth of groceries from HHV Whitchurch in Picard on November 24, 2012. It was reported that on November the 24th at around 8:15 p.m., Janella went to HHV Whitchurch to meet with Tara, who was an employee of the company at the time. At that time, at around 8:45 p.m. and nearing closing, when the two decided to go to the aisles to pick up various items including Yoplait yogurt, Mount Gay rum, tissue paper and sardines, amounting to $1,108.70. After 10 minutes, they returned to the cashing station, where Tara began to scan the items and helped Janella to back them. Upon ringing up the items, Tara printed a bill but did not put any money into the cash register. They then met up with Janella's boyfriend, Jeffrey Joseph, where they put the groceries in his vehicle and gave Tara her portion. Tara had only cashed a little over $50 that night. On Tuesday, November 22nd, the person in charge of HHV Research in Picard at the time, Mr. Cedric Suku, found it odd that Tara had only cashed that little for the evening and proceeded to review the surveillance tapes. He called Tara and demanded an explanation, to which she denied any involvement. He then shown her the surveillance footage and she admitted to cashing for the items and not paying for them. A search warrant was issued for the home of Janella in Calabishi, where they received most of the items, and Tara escorted the police to her house, where they recovered more items. The two women were arrested on suspicion of theft. Magistrate Candia George advised the young women that they should never resort to theft and that they should learn to do with what they have. They are ordered to pay compensation of $554.35 each at the Portsmouth Police Station no later than Friday, November 30, 2012, or in default 2 months in prison. They are further fined $1,500 each to be paid no later than February 28, 2013, or spend 4 months in prison. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.